starting. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. This is Sudha Jamthe, and this is the IoT show. We have an awesome lineup today. We're going to talk about the power of sensors. All of us know that the IoT is this big trend and hype, but it all started from sensors becoming very cheap and very cost effective. And I went through this exercise to figure out how many sensors are there, what are the different ways to connect with them. I realized there's a lot of complexity to it and a lot of possibility to it. It got me excited. That as today's topic. Let me introduce our speakers first. I'm going to start with Eric. Hi, Eric.
Hi, it's Eric Oesterle here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I work right now on home automation projects and a bit on wearable stuff. I've got here the new Pebble Time. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's very fun. I'm a software guy and a designer, but I have increasingly been moving into working with hardware. So I'm really excited about hearing about the Razorfish guys and the Audi campaign.
Cool. So I met Eric at the iOS Dev Camp weekend of 10th July, and he introduced himself as the resident sensor expert, and he lived up to it.
That's not me.
That's what I
said. Sudha, I think you're more of a sensor expert than I am.
I'm more a sensor enthusiast. Okay, so moving on to Mikey.
Hey.
Hi. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I run the developer evangelism program at Sense360. We just launched about a month ago, and we have an SDK that allows iOS developers to take full advantage of sensors and smartphones. So it's a cool crowd for me to talk to. I'm excited about this.
Very cool. So you're talking about sensors which are already inside the iPhone, not external sensors.
Yeah, exactly. So we have, at least for the time being, we don't want any barrier to entry for someone that wants to use our tech. If you have a smartphone and you have an audience, then you can use sensors in really incredible ways. And eventually we'll get into that external hardware conversation, but for the time being, yeah, everything's in the phone right now.
Cool. And Sense360 does amazing stuff with sensor data, so we'll hear about that very soon. And cool. I have to say, you have the best background with so much greenery. Where are you sitting?
So I'm sitting in our office. The funny thing is, behind the greenery, there's a Del Taco. So we're covering up the Del Taco with some trees.
And where's your office?
We're in Los Angeles, in Culver City.
Cool. And I'm based in San Jose.
Nice. I've been up there a lot the past few weeks, so I've been lucky enough to enjoy multiple plane delays from the San Jose airport.
Okay, next to Zonno.
I'm Simon. Hey. We're Razorfish Berlin, Razorfish Germany. We're based in Berlin. We're 12 hours ahead, so almost the end of the day for us. So that's where we are.
So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you joining. And last week we had difficulty connecting you in, so yes. I'm thankful to Chad from Google Plus for working with us to make this happen. Cool. So, and also thank you to all the people who are watching from Europe, because I'm seeing increasingly there's lots more people from Europe, and I appreciate you joining, because it's bright and early with my cup of tea, and for you guys, you're staying back for this. So let's get started. Why don't we get started with the Razorfish team and hear about the Audi TT, because that's the big exciting thing I hear from everybody.
Big pressure. Okay, that's great. So yeah, so that's one of our project recently we've done. It's called Audi TT brochure hack. So this is Audi TT brochure. For Audi,
the real thing. We're going to see the real thing today.
It is a real thing. Yes, almost. Yeah, it is a real thing. For Audi TT, Audi is one of the major clients in Razorfish Germany office. And Audi has a new car, it's called Audi TT. It's actually the first car equipped with it's called a virtual cockpit interface, which basically the dashboard is completely a digital display, and that can be contextualized and changed and updated based on the user's preference and also the usage. That is one thing, is one of the first car that Audi TT actually featured, and it's one of the exciting features that Audi offer to the customers. So for that,
and for doing this, you did this project using Novartis,
yes,
Kate Stone's
exactly.
print, electronic print. Can you tell us a little bit and tell us about the technology?
Yeah, so one of the things we'd like to do is we want to actually show the features, demonstrate the features to customers, but how we're going to do it into the classic touch point, which is the brochure, which is still the effective touch point for most of the customers in Germany, especially. But to do this, we stumbled upon the technology of Dr. Kate Stone, Novalia, the company, who has the technology has electric conductive ink, and there we come up with the idea that we can actually display the features based on the print, and the print converted into some sort of touch sensors connected to the iPhone, where you can actually demonstrate the product. So that was actually our take, and then we contact them, we make it a quick prototype, and then the project going into the actual real form, which was quite an exciting moment. Of course, it was actually lots of back and forth, but that was quite a smooth in our project, the usual process. So yeah.
Do you want to tell us about do you want to show us the demo?
Yeah.
Wow factor that we've all been waiting for. We're going to see
I don't know how to.
Periscope. We are just going to see the Audi TT brochure, the real brochure live, come to life.
I was really impressed by this. This was very, very cool.
Oh, sorry. Someone was trying to come inside.
I doesn't sound Eric or Mikey. I just zoomed them in thinking they were talking.
So it's gesture sensitive. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I'm not sure. So what's going to happen is you
Can you move that a little bit? Sorry. Can you move that a little bit to your right?
To my right. To my right.
To your right.
To your other right. That one. Yeah. Great.
End of the page, there's a chip here, and then here's a button. So it's all German. I'm not sure if you can see the screen, but when you press the start engine, what's going to happen to you?
Oh, that's awesome.
Sie von 0 auf 100 km/h in 5,3 Sekunden.
It's pretty neat, actually. It's more than actually exciting than actually you do it as if you're a kid. And then you have to actually press the engine, so the rev up a little bit engines, and also,
wow.
Yeah. Then afterwards, you can actually change the view.
Ermöglicht gezielte Kontrolle, auch bei schneller Fahrt.
And a little bit of explanation in German to explain what the feature is, as well as.
Mit MMI Touch können nahezu alle Fahrzeugfunktionen. Die View-Taste ermöglicht gezielte Kontrolle, auch bei schneller Fahrt.
So that was a quick demonstration.
Yeah.
So is everything on the paper printed electronically?
Yes.
Yeah, so basically in between the two, I can't really show you, but in between the cardboard and the kind of surface paper, there is the printed ink, and then, I don't know if you can see in the back, there's a little piece here, and this is where actually the Nordic semiconductor printed circuit board is, that kind of does all.
I thought you might be using the Nordic.
Yeah.
It's a Nordic Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Bluetooth Low Energy.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And so you didn't need another MCU, did you? You wrote code that ran on that as well?
Yeah, so actually what was quite nice was that when we worked with Novartis, right, they've developed a really comprehensive API so that actually what you can do is you just specify with them. This is what kind of made the project so easy and nice, and it came together really almost like Lego. Was with them, you go in and you specify kind of, okay, I need these 3 or 4 inputs, and they will tell you which signals that will come out of that, and then when you write the code for the phone, you just basically essentially listen to those events, which is was a really clean interface to work with.
So last
Very
week,
cool.
very, very cool. Last week we had David Cole, who is a big visionary in this whole connected paper space. We're trying to get but we couldn't get both of you together. But he spoke about connected paper. He showed us a lot of different demos of taking paper, adding an electronic circuit to it, and just bringing it to life.
Yeah.
And he's been teaching that, and he's focused on the education space. He wants to transform education to not just switch from paper-based education to pointing at an iPad or an Android device, but more let the kids make shapes, do stuff. He has added solar panels to paper. I went through and I don't have that notebook with me here, but I did go through, inspired by your demo is how I should say. I saw your demo, went back and looked at Kate Stone's work, and I tried to put a big fat Bluetooth chip on a paper. So what was your biggest challenge in going through that? I mean, you make it sound like as an API, you just got books, you sprinted in. I'm sure there's more to it. Just understand a bit more of the technology things.
I think there were creative challenges, and then there were technical challenges, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe you just say some of the creative.
I mean, the creative challenge was actually what's the best way to contextualize the link to the product. That was one of the most biggest challenge before us. But actually, it's more a retrofit. We find the technologies, we had an idea, the problem, and we had a best solution as a technologies, and somehow we can merge it up all together, and we quickly prototype it to tell the idea to the clients, and then also all the customers are also excited about it. So that was quite interesting, very successful from advertising point of view as well. And technical point of view.
I mean, from a technical point of view, it was really tough to actually come up with the idea. So we had a number of options, right? We knew Novartis, we'd worked with them a bit before, but we were also thinking, maybe we could use some e-ink, and which might be interesting for Mikey. We were also thinking about using kind of the magnetoscope in order to detect the resistance of the different wires and the different buttons, and then we could have directly figured out what was going on the page. So there are a number of different technical kind of options. Yeah. But then I think what really came down to in the end was that we wanted to show this thing, right? And actually the most straightforward way is to use a Novartis solution. And so yeah, actually putting that together was pretty, as I say, was super straightforward. And in terms of realizing this in the time that we had, that was the easy thing.
Exactly.
Very good.
Novartis, is it? Can you guys write that up in a little note?
We'll actually add that in the comment when the show finishes. I will add the link. Dr. Kate Stone is from Oxford, and this is her research, and she's come up with a full printing ink for a printing press, so you can print newspaper or any kind of paper with electronic ink. Yeah. And then you need creative people like the Razorfish team to actually bring it to life. I saw that. I'm a big fan of the Amazon Dash, where you can push a button, order consumables at your home, and I saw that and just got so excited. I said, so the newspaper we think is going away, and here you guys can actually bring all ads to life. And like you said, Zonno, it's not just something that anybody can do, because it's a different kind of creative design, right? So it's a totally different industrial design, I would say, right?
And that was what was also really challenging about the project, right? Was here you have a car which is generally static, right? Like people don't expect to have such high-level electronics in a car. And in terms of the sort of bringing those two things together, we were really like, well, how can we give the best experience to the users like they're actually in the car? And the realization was, we thought, okay, we could do this in just a tablet. We could have this as a tablet and have the whole thing in a tablet. But it's just not as compelling as being able to flick through a book and actually have that kind of direct paper experience. But then plus your iPhone, then we've got a whole new kind of avenue to do kind of storytelling and to actually, get across the feeling of being in the car.
Yeah.
Very cool. I want to switch to Mikey, because all these sensors are awesome, but the real power of the sensor is in getting the data from the sensor and what we can do from it. So other than just external sensors, iPhone comes with a bunch of sensors. So can you tell us what sensors? I know we all here know what sensors are there on the iPhone, but tell us what sensors are there and what you do, the fancy stuff you do with the data.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, there's a ton of different sensors in the iPhone. So I mean, everyone knows that you have like GPS, Bluetooth. You've then got barometer, magnetometer, ambient light, compass, gyroscope. So there's tons of different sensors in the phone. But with any plethora of data, you just have to figure out what to do with it. So what we have built out, we have this data infrastructure where we actually go into any project with zero assumptions. So let's say we want to know that someone is entering a gas station, which is something that we had to figure out for a prior client. The assumption there, I mean, if you go in and have a plan of attack before you kind of collect the data, you might think, okay, let's collect GPS, and when we see someone's GPS pinging a lat long that is very close to a gas station point of interest, then that means that they're at the gas station. That's kind of how you would maybe come up with an algorithm on your own without collecting data first. But what ends up happening with something that sounds as simple as even the gas station, you start realizing that things are not so simple. So, for example, you might get someone that appears to be inside of a gas station giving you location pings that look like they are at that location. And in fact, they're at the red light on the corner right next to the gas station, and in 10 seconds, they're going to start driving away. So if you have an experience where you're trying to target users before they fill up gas, you have that 15 to 20 seconds to get them before you've either missed your opportunity and started filling up gas, or you're
So you're talking about the experience where you would give them you'd basically geofence them and give them a coupon before they fill the gas?
So the clients we work with, one of our clients we work with, they have an app that lets you know what credit card to use, based off of your reward. So at gas stations, there's often different deals you have. So they will.
Sorry, you'll have to repeat again. Basically, there was a blip. I lost you for a minute.
No.
So you said you want. No. Tell me the use case. You're trying to find out what credit cards the user is using before they start filling gas.
Exactly. From an ambient alert. That they know. Credit card X versus best rewards. That was again a case of one of our clients. So
that's awesome.
So what we're finding is that when we just rely on longitude from GPS pull, you end up a lot of false positives, tons of them. So what we end up doing by collecting a ton of data, in this example, we realized that one of the best ways to know that someone is actually entering a gas station is to pull gyroscope, because the gyroscope was able to detect turns for us. And once we saw that someone turned, because you can't really get into a gas station without turning into the gas station. So that was the first step. But then you start realizing what's the difference between the gyroscope data when someone is turning versus when there's merging lanes. And the more you unpack this, the more problems you run into, and the only way to come up with the right algorithm is to collect a ton of data and then retroactively look at that data and figure out what were the clearest indicators that someone was at that location. So to take a step back, I guess, because I didn't really say this earlier, our goal is to make it easier for folks to create invisible apps, like apps that understand the complete context of where someone is, what they're doing, and presenting information to them at the right time and right place without the user needing to proactively go in and get that data. But it's really, and that's where we come in, making it easier.
So you had actually said, I mean, for me, I have seen, you know, from every sensor, you can pretty much get data out to the cloud or to an app. And there are many different, you know, players who do the manipulation of the data. But what fascinated me in your thing is you're taking the existing sensors of the iPhone, bringing that to life. So it's just building an app and talking to your SDK. But you're using a combination of the data. Right, when it's actually good that you gave that example and then said the invisible app, because when the first time you just said we create invisible app, blah blah blah, I was like, what is he talking about, right? So you said something about, you know, you with the combination of data, you can actually find out if a user is walking or driving in. So how would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of different data out there. There are some APIs that are released by like native iOS and Android APIs. What we're doing right now, we're working on taking those and improving upon them and making them even higher detection. So it could be a difference. It could be using a pedometer or accelerometer. And again, you don't want to. I can't give away the entire secret sauce of what we're doing, but it's a matter of taking those data points and collecting all of them. Those two that I just mentioned are big ones, and then figuring out the best way to get as high a confidence as possible that someone's walking or driving, because I think it's worth calling out. A lot of people believe or want to believe that there's a binary, right? Like someone is walking or someone is not walking. What you have to do when you're analyzing this data is get as close to 100% confidence that someone's doing that activity, because it is a numbers game, it's a probability game, and you just have to do your due diligence to get close to 100%. But with all data, there's going to be outliers, and we want to be as close to 100% as possible.
Very cool. I want to actually go back to Zonno and Simon, because one of the things when you get paper to life compared to digital is in digital, in an ad mode, right? You can actually look at the impressions, you can look at the click-throughs and everything, right? So now when you do this in a brochure, it's awesome experience, it comes to life, there's a wow factor, but are you able to capture any analytics, right? With the tabs, are you able to capture sensor data, or do you collect any other data? What do you do?
So this is a little bit of a data protection issue in Germany, but actually totally what we can do is, given that we're using an app on an iPhone, is that we can collect all the sensor data that comes in from the Bluetooth printed circuit board, and we can check what people are clicking on and what people are looking at. It's a little bit of a murky zone as to whether we relate that back to users or not, but definitely from a user experience point of view, we can look and see how people are using the integrated display.
So you can use that to improve your product design. So if you have kept, you know, five areas to tap, and people are going towards 3 of them, and you know, there'll be right and left-handed people or something, right? You look at the population pool of data where it was tapped, and redesign your brochure for the next rev. But you cannot use this data saying, you know, this many number of users.
No. Like a lot of people are really interested in feature X, but just telling them which specific users are interested in feature X, that's a bit of a no-go in Germany.
Right.
But it's very cool. You're doing analytics on a book.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, with the privacy you're talking about, in Germany, is it that you can't say which user, or can you categorize users anonymously and give like generic categorical feedback?
Yeah, exactly. You can give generic categorical feedback, but we can't do anything that links a user to a specific action.
Interesting.
So you can't actually, like, you know, tag each brochure with an ID and then say this particular ID. It doesn't have to be Sudha Jamthe, but ID, whatever number, user was, you could technically, you could theoretically figure this out, right? You could give these brochures to a number of people, give a specific coded brochure to females versus male, and you're not allowed to do that. I don't know. I think we could do that in US. It also seems super cool.
Oh, we can do anything. We can do anything. Yeah.
We can look at the data and we can see, if you're interested in one specific thing, and we've tied that back to another feature. So like we can group you and say, okay, users like you are also interested in X. And we can definitely surface those similar features that you might be interested in.
And I think if you get the permission of the user, you should be able to do that, right?
An opt-in process, yeah.
So if there's a completely obfuscated identity, so it's not personally identifiable information like home or name, you can share that?
Sorry, you cut out there for a minute. We lost you.
I was saying, so if you do have an opted-in user and you obfuscate their ID, no personally identifiable information like name or home address, anything like that, then you can share that? Or is that still a no-go?
We can share that with the company. I mean, we wouldn't share it generally, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds pretty similar to us. The key is obfuscating that.
I mean, there also, in Germany, there's this thing called Datasparsamkeit, which is security. You have to have an idea of, you can collect this data, but you shouldn't hold on to it. So, it's the idea is that when you create this data collection, you should have a really specific idea of how long you need the data for and when you're going to get rid of it, and make sure that you don't just keep data around for no apparent purpose.
That's like credit card data when you pass through for a charge, and if the user doesn't give you permission to store that in your service, you cannot store that, right? Even in here for financial data, I think we don't have so much restriction for anything that's not financial data as much. We don't really understand the privacy implication. I mean, coming from retail, I actually think there is so much power to this data. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
That's just me. We have another minute to wrap up. So I want to share, usually I get a lot of pings on these are IoT jobs, can you say that? I haven't been able to do justice to that because just saying blah, blah, blah job and giving the name of the company has not been super helpful. But Apple has a research kit community manager, and that's a job that Apple has on their site, so interested people can go look at it. It's more people who are interested in healthcare, like their home kit, health kit. They call it research kit. You might want to go look at it, related to healthcare apps. And as we wrap up, it looks like this is a big enough topic. I had a lot of conversation on email with Eric. I feel like I've not done justice to Eric's expertise as the sensor guy. So maybe we can, if there's enough interest, I'll just check with our users. Maybe we can do another round of it. Do you have anything that you want to say last minute as we wrap up? Because we saw the Audi demo. We heard Sense360, how they use data. Do you want to say anything about sensors in general, power? Has anything changed today after this session for you?
Oh, were you talking to me, Sudha? Yeah, so I just wanted to share with the guys over at Razorfish. You may already know about this, but I've been playing around with two really interesting platforms. This one is the ESP8266, which is Wi-Fi, but with enough space for you to write custom applications on. It's an under $10 part. And this is an Arduino Pico, and this is STM32 running JavaScript. So instead of programming in C, as you would with an Arduino, you can work with designers, which I know you guys do all the time, and I used to do at Frog, and rapidly prototype something, and then later on code it in C when you need more performance. So those are two interesting little toys that I used to connect the sensors recently. with, Raspberry Pi and everything else.
That's all the time we have today. Thank you, everybody. This has been a fantastic show. I see a lot of possibilities of bringing back the Razorfish guys to talk more. And I don't know if they are planning more cool projects, taking this into different projects. They're shaking their head, so I'm guessing that they have secret plans. I'm going to become your PR arm here. Looks like. I feel like I didn't do justice to anybody because this is such an amazing topic. If each one of you have bring so much to the table, so maybe we'll do a round 2, or we'll bring another topic where we can tie back. Eric, maybe you can come show us a whole bunch of system on a chip options, and we can discuss more. So thank you, everybody. Sure. I look forward to your comments, and we will share the links that we mentioned here at in the comments. And I will see you all next week. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.